Hello and welcome to day 21 of the Consistently Creative Challenge. That means we are over halfway there. So, congratulations. So, the purpose of this challenge, for those of you who don't know, is number one, to build a habit of making space for your creativity. And number two, to learn some tools to help you through the creative process. And so today we're going to talk about dealing with negative thoughts. I've been a professional actor for the past 20 years, and I've been a filmmaker for the past 10 years. And I can tell you that even today, I still deal with negative thoughts. But over the years, I've had some tools I've built up to help me deal with those negative thoughts so that they don't stop me from being creative. And that's the thing that I want to help you do with this challenge is to build up the tools and the knowledge and the strength and the way to fight when things like resistance or negative thoughts or confusion or worry or fear come up while you're creating, because I truly believe that God wants to create and co create with us and bring beautiful and good things in this world that will help people. And I really want to support you in that, because I think you can agree with me when I say that we need more beautiful things out in the world to inspire and encourage people. And so today I want to dive into how to deal with negative thoughts. So I will just be sharing kind of my experience and what I've done, and hopefully that will help you. So, for a long time, I really actually didn't know that I was having negative thoughts. I just had thoughts, and thoughts dictate the way that you behave and what you believe about yourself. And I just thought it was normal. I didn't think that my thoughts were anything to examine, and I thought my thoughts were true. And I don't know if you've heard of this term called metacognition, and that means that we have the ability to think about our thoughts. We have the ability to think about the way that we think. And it's a very powerful skill to have, to look at your thoughts and challenge them. And so I would many times get frustrated with myself, and there was a critical voice that I had towards myself. I think some of it might be that I'm a firstborn. Some of it might be I was in gymnastics for my formative years, and that's a very tough sport mentally and physically, and you're always being judged. And just not really having people in my life that really, really knew me and that could kind of, I guess, confirm things within me. And so, also, just honestly, having immigrant parents from two different cultures and just trying to learn to navigate. And when that happens, many times you can be a bit of a chameleon trying to fit in different places rather than really being secure and understanding who you are. And so the truth is, I think when I would try to fit in certain spaces or fit different ways and I didn't, I would get really upset with myself. And I think that kind of showed up maybe when I was a teenager. But yeah, I just thought that that's how it was. And I remember in my 20s, I got married, I moved to a new city, graduated from school, and a lot of I had a lot of stressors happen at once, and I was trying to figure out where I was going. And this is before smartphones and GPSs. Like, you had to just memorize and learn and use. I think there was Google Maps, but it wasn't something you could carry in the car. Like, I remember times I would carry my laptop in the car. I'd pull up Google Maps and pull up the directions and like sit it on my passenger seat sometimes. But many times I would get lost, and I did have a phone. I'd call my husband a lot. I was like, I don't know where I am. And I would feel bad for calling my husband at work and stuff like that. But I remember one day I was driving to work and I got lost. And I remember talking to myself really harshly, like, there you go again. Why can't you figure out where you're going? And it got to like, you're so stupid. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, that was the first time I was like, I don't like this. This is weird. And I think because I had figured out where I was going for such a long time that I hadn't had those thoughts, that when this happened and I had that thought come up, it felt a bit foreign. And so that was the first time I was able to step back at my, that I can remember, like step back and kind of look at my thought and say, I didn't like that. And so I continue on that journey today. I think it's a lifelong journey to understand how to step back and think about how you think. So I will say that therapy, been in therapy for years, on and off for years, and it's been wonderful. It's been such a great experience to continue to uncover things that aren't serving me anymore. And I truly believe that I think everyone could benefit from therapy, honestly. But I think the higher that you're going and the further and deeper in the work and the more unique the work and more the work is separate from the pack, you need therapy. You need health in all areas of your life because that's how you climb higher. You have to know what things you need to let go of so you can go higher. And therapy is a great way to do that. I think therapy is a great way to look at your negative emotions and kind of see where they came from, and examine them with somebody who understands the mind, and also maybe is more objective and can point things out and understands the dynamics of society and things like that, because I study it. And like, I remember one thing that my therapist brought up that was, I knew it, but I didn't really think about it, was because I'm a daughter of immigrants, because I am in America a Black woman, because I'm a woman, there's this added triple pressure of how you behave, how you look, how you come off. And you can put a lot of pressure on yourself to be perfect and not even know, because that's just how society is. And so you're just falling in line with the programming and you don't even know until you are suffering. And so that's not even a thought, a conscious thought that I had, that I cared how people were looking at me because I knew that my family was different and I didn't want to be judged or looked at negatively. So I did a lot to not bring attention or really bad attention to myself. And I didn't know I was doing that to myself. So I would, one thing I would do is suggest therapy. There's a lot of different places you can go depending on what you can afford. And I remember I went to our seminary, had a counseling program. And so some of the students that were, you know, graduating, but in their residency, they would give us a discount to see the therapist. And so I saw the therapist, and now she's um, out of her residency and out of, in her own practice. And so I continue to see her, and it's been really great. The other thing I want you to do is to take your thoughts captive. And so in Second Corinthians 10:5, it says, we demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Essentially, taking the thought captive is just taking it and looking at it and questioning it. And if it sets it up itself up against the knowledge of God, meaning if the thought is saying you're not worthy, that is a lie, because the knowledge of God tells us that we are made in his image, and that if he sent his son to die for the whole world and he loved us before while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us, like, you're worthy because God says you're worthy. It's not like based on you. It's just a fact. Because you were created, you're worthy. So if a thought is saying something that is against God's knowledge or the knowledge of God, like understanding, I know God, I know what he says about me, I know he created me, I know he has plans for me to give me a purpose and a hope and not to hurt me. And I know these things are true. So this thought is not right. And so you're going to make it obedient to Christ. And so that's what that means. I know we can just have a whole, I bet you can have a whole hour sermon on that. And the next thing I want to encourage you to do is to cast your cares on the Lord. For First Peter 5:7, which I found this in college and I was so excited. It says, "Give all your worries and cares to God, for he cares about you." And another translation says, "Cast your cares upon God because he cares about you." And so, first of all, we know God cares about you, he loves you, and he's saying to give your worries to him. He also says, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." And many of us are weighed down with worries and cares, and he's literally like, just bring them to me. And so that's the other thing I want you to do when you have a negative thought. I can't do this. I'm not smart enough. I can't write, whatever it is, just give it to the Lord and step back. Like on a practical note, when you're thinking about these things and you're like, yeah, 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 give it to the Lord. I'm saying, say it. Lord, I give you this worry that I think I'm not good enough. And then go do something else so you don't take it back. Because I think it's funny, like casting means to kind of throw upon. So you're throwing this care to the Lord and then we try to like take it back. And so sometimes just giving, like on a practical note, just giving yourself some space from the thought or the thing, go take a walk, go have a snack, whatever, like, and just come back. And I bet you're going to feel a little bit different, but don't sit there in it, wallowing in it, thinking, turning it over. Um, that's like ruminating. And that kind of means like when the cow is chewing the cud, like chewing the grass, they have to chew it for a long time. And you don't need to do that. Um, And so when you don't do that, you're implementing Philippians 4:6, which says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." And later it says, "And the peace that passeth all understanding." I went King James there. "The peace that passes all understanding will be yours," meaning you're going to have peace, but you're not going to quite understand it. And that's okay. Just accept it. Just accept the peace. And so it's saying, don't sit there in anxiety, but pray about it. And then with thanksgiving, present your request to God. So when it says Thanksgiving, with Thanksgiving, I think if I could put it into some easier terms is like with thankful expectation, knowing that who are you giving your cares and your negative thoughts to? You're not just giving it to like some unexperienced, unqualified person who has no power to do anything about it. You're giving it to the one who is the solution for all things, creator of all things with all power, and who loves you and has your best interests and is just like going to fight for you. So think about it like that. You're not just giving it to anyone. So that's how we can be thankful and say, okay, I'm going to give this to you. And practically speaking, it could be just talking it out. God, I'm really worried about this. I'm scared. I don't understand. I really need you to provide me some wisdom and understand. Like, just be real because he knows, anyways. And part of prayer is helping us to get stuff out. It's like scientifically, when you're writing something, you're moving it from a deeper part of your brain into the prefrontal cortex so that you're able to organize the thought and look at the thought. And I think when you're able to speak something out, and you like talk to a friend, you kind of feel better just by getting it out. And then, like I said before in another one of these things, is just like say it out loud and then be quiet and meditate quietly and see if you something comes up in your spirit. And if not, then just go do something else, cuz I do this all the time. Sometimes I'll get something right away. Many times I just get up for my prayer and I just know at this point I'm going to get hit with it later. I'll be washing dishes or in the shower and I'm like, "Oh," and then the idea comes or whatever. And so, or you're watching TV or you're having a conversation and something clicks later, just put it at his feet, let it go, and then with thanksgiving, already I know, God, you're going to answer this when the timing is right. Um and then I would say it says in Philippians 4:8. Philippians 4 is really, really good. Um, to whatever is pure and noble of good report, think on these things. And those, I mean, literally telling you, think on good things. Like, let that be your consistent thought. And sometimes you have to be really intentional about it. Um, like, compliment yourself. Notice, like, when you look in the mirror, what are you saying to yourself? What are you focusing on? Oh, my skin is sagging, or I see a new wrinkle, or I wish that my nose was different, and all this stuff that you're spending so much time. Believe me, let me tell you something. I'm in my 40s right now. When I look back on my pictures in my 20s, I'm like, why did I even think I was fat? Or why did I think I wasn't cute? I was so cute. And you could I'm not the only person who does that. You look back at pictures and you're like, why did I even stop that? Because your 80-year-old self is going to look back and be like, wow, you are amazing, at 40. And so just recognize that and stop. And just, I had to do that. When I look in the mirror, I need to say something good immediately. And then just like we have a negative thought that runs on autopilot. If you want to replace that thought, you need to think positively and say, I look good today. I look good today. I look great today. Today's gonna be great. Just that's what you have to do. And lastly, I would say count your blessings. Like having gratitude and having a gratitude practice is so powerful. When I was in my 20s, and again, it was a rough time, and I was definitely depressed. I had postpartum depression, and I was really far gone. And I went to a therapist, and she was like, you need to write down 5 things you're grateful for every day. And I'm like, I literally was like, I don't know what to write down. Like, I had no clue. I mean, honestly, if you were to ask me, I was like, I don't know what to say. Yet I had a husband. I had, uh, I think I had my baby at the time. I had a home. I think I had my second child. I had a home, and we had 2 cars, and I had a college degree. And like it got to the point where I was like, thank you, God, for my bed. Thank you for the fact I could have breakfast today. Like it got so basic, but I did it every day. So every morning I woke up, and every night I went to sleep, and I just said 5 things. It really changed me. It really works. So now you can just pop it in. I pop it in all the time whenever I'll just be outside, and I will look at the trees and the sun shining through the trees, and I can be grateful for that moment. But 20 years ago, I would have struggled just to find something to be grateful for. But I'm telling you, that's a lifelong habit to have, and it will change you for the better, because you will be able to pick out, well, I'm really grateful I have this laptop to stare at until I can figure out what to write. So do that. So I just want to lastly say, um, negative thoughts aren't to be feared. um I heard someone say like emotions are just information. So if you're scared or you're angry and you're like, why am I, ask yourself, why am I angry? What happened? And then analyze it. Same thing with your negative thoughts. It's information. And now we went through all of these things that you can literally do when these thoughts come, meaning give your cares to God, to pray, to have a gratitude practice, to change what you're thinking about. um, but lastly, I want to say it's it's just information, and you don't have to like hold on to it. You take it captive and you look at it and cast, give it to the Lord. But I would say this, like my gymnastics coach used to say, it's okay to be afraid, just do it afraid. And you can actually train yourself. Like, I'll give you this last example, but if you're painting, if you're a painter or something, um, and you're feeling emotional, and it could be the point of tears. Like, this is, you know that you want to do this and you've been putting it off for long enough. I would say let yourself cry and keep painting. Like, keep your hand going. Like, it's okay to be doing stuff while you're processing it and upset. Like, there are times where I've written and teared up and cried, maybe for what I was writing or my frustration. There's been times I'm writing in my journal and I'm just crying, or I'm scared. I've gone into onto a stage before scared. I just walk out. You know, people are counting on you too, so that helps you. But I'm saying, like, don't feel like you have to be doing everything in this perfect attitude all the time. You don't. That's just not how it works. And as you do it, as you keep showing up every day, you will get less and less scared of the negative thoughts. If you sit down, you're like, the thoughts come up because you think you're going to die or something. Literally, it could be, sometimes it's that crazy, and you're just like, oh no, I'm okay. I sat down yesterday and I wrote for an hour. I can sit down today and write, even though I don't know if I'm any good. And just remind yourself, it's just me looking at this and nobody else. And whatever you need to do to take that thought captive. And then you can start developing positive things. Like, I'm grateful that I have a laptop to write. I'm grateful that I have a brain that thinks about ideas. I'm grateful for the opportunity, that knowing that I can at least self-publish. If I can't get a publisher, I can write a blog, things like that. Just take it down and be basic if you need to. So I hope that this helped you in some way. um, I would just lastly say, like, journaling is so important. It's something I've done consistently for, oh gosh, 30 years now. It's just one of the best practices I have. Like I said, it takes things out, puts them here in your prefrontal cortex, helps you organize it, look at it, pray about it. I mean, you can go back to it. It's such a great practice to help you overcome and not be afraid of the thoughts. There's nothing to be afraid of. I want to encourage you to keep going, keep pushing, go through the process. The process is the process. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow, but you can keep putting one foot in front of the other. So thank you so much for listening today. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.